what's up forum, it's Gorilla Hands, and today I'm bringing you a game of Domination on Crisis. But the gameplay really doesn't matter. In fact, I'm going to be talking about a completely separate game. I'm going to be talking about Battlefield 3. And I'm going to be discussing a lot of the information that is known about the game up to this point in time. So if you've been, if you read the Game Informer magazine, or if you've been keeping up with the game on the net, none of this stuff is going to be new to you. This is really meant for the people that maybe don't know a whole lot about the Battlefield series or haven't really been paying attention to the information associated with this game. And you might notice in the top right-hand corner there's a trailer playing. It's the single-player trailer that they released a couple weeks ago. Actually, the next part of that trailer is going to come out this Wednesday. But if you haven't seen it yet, if you're interested, you can see some of the single-player gameplay footage. Just click that video and it'll take you over to the trailer. So the game is going to be published by EA, and it's actually being created by the same developers that have been working on the series since the start. They're the Swedish developers DICE. And this is the first true successor to the PC exclusive game Battlefield 2 that was released in 2005. All the games that kind of came in between Battlefield 2 and now were considered spin-offs. So this is actually, Battlefield 3 is the true successor to Battlefield 2. And a percentage of the team working on Battlefield 3 are the same team that worked on DICE's original game, codename Eagle. They worked on Battlefield 1942 and Battlefield 2. So a lot of the guys that kind of created the series are still here now working on this title. And they're so confident in this game that they're actually going to be releasing it in Q4 of 2011. There's not an official release date yet, but that is the time where the big hitters come out, like Call of Duty, Batman, Arkham City, Gears of War 3, and they're 100% confident in their product, and they feel like it's going to do extremely well and compete very well. And normally in the past what they've been doing is releasing it in the springtime, where a lot of the big shooters are not released, so it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. So what's going to be the same in this game that's going to be kind of pulled from Battlefield 2 and Battlefield Bad Company 2? Well, it's still a class-based shooter, and it's instead of Battlefield 2 had 7 classes and Bad Company 2 had 4, and they've decided kind of the sweet spot has been 4 classes, so it's going to stay 4 classes, and I think they're still going to have the kind of the customization where you can take a class and really kind of change them up. And they made it a big point that balance is their number one, or one of their top priorities when working with this class customization setup. They're still going to have dedicated servers, and PC players are going to get 64-player battles, and console players are still going to get 12v12, which personally for me sucks, but what are you going to do? It's still fun. Bad Company 2 is still fun. They're bringing back one of my favorite maps, Strike at Karkan, which was a urban level in Battlefield 2. They're also bringing back the prone position from Battlefield 2. And the reason they took it out for console versions, like in Bad Company and Bad Company 2, was because they thought it really slowed the pace down. If anyone familiar with Bad Company series, there's a lot of snipers that when you play multiplayer, a lot of people play snipers. And they worried that the snipers would, all go prone and really slow down the game pacing. They're bringing back prone from Battlefield 2, and the reason for that is that they felt like they've made some adjustments that can help speed up the game, including they've really increased muzzle flash, and they included vapor traces, and those traces are larger based on the size of the gun. So they found kind of a counter for people that are really hiding. And another counters are also still bringing the kill cam back from Battlefield Bad Company 2. Also, jets are coming back as well. They're not going to be scale, so they're not going to be. They're modeled after Mach 2 jets, but they're not actually going to be flying at those speeds, just because they can't make levels big enough where it would be feasible to use those. Even though they're using the Frostbite 3 engine, it's still destructible environments. So that was something that was introduced in the Bad Company series. So we're going to still see just destructible environments in Battlefield 3. Now, what's going to be different? They're not bringing back the commander feature from Battlefield 2. And for those of you who may not know, the commander feature, one person from each team essentially controlled the battlefield. They could send orders to individual squads. They can drop in supplies to tanks and into different groups, and put in UAV planes on different locations of the map. It's not coming back because they didn't think it was fair that essentially 2 people in the entire game could be a commander. So they wanted to take a lot of those features and kind of bring them down so more players can use them. There's not going to be any mod kits for PC players. That was something that was included in Battlefield 2, and I guess is a little disappointing, but they want to put more focus on working on the single player and multiplayer aspects of the game. Also, you're able to drag fallen teammates to safety, so if someone's hurt, you can pull them away, and I guess you can defib them once they're down. and you can have a little bit more manipulation with broken terrain. So if you have a heavy machine gun, you can mount that on any terrain as long as it looks like as long as you could technically mount it in real life, you can do it in the game. So you can blow up a building and then mount your gun right on top of that. So that could make for some pretty cool defensive positions. They're still bringing in the same dedicated post-game support, or they're claiming they're going to. They're going to streamline their DLC, so it's supposed to come out faster than it did on Bad Company 2. They're still bringing the same emphasis on patching the game and making sure everything's balanced. And anyone who played Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 2, they made it a point to really do a good job of balancing everything in their game and putting out patches. So that's something I commend DICE for doing. And also, they've adjusted the leveling system a little bit so that it doesn't get stale. When you hit 25 in Bad Company 2, there really isn't much incentive to keep leveling up. There's nothing else to shoot for. But they've changed it around so that there's always something to shoot for all the way until you hit the final level in Battlefield 3. Now, with all these features, I guess the biggest highlight is their new engine. I mentioned earlier, it's the Frostbite 3 engine. And they've wanted with this engine to really find a way to create a very immersive, very realistic feel. They couldn't really do that with their previous engine. It just didn't have the capacity to do it. But they've been working on this for quite some time now, and it kind of has all the different features they want to make the game that they truly want to make, both for PC and consoles. And it has a lot of new lighting effects. It has a deferred shading, which is something that's being utilized a little bit more in the industry. The previous model for shading was forward rendering, or forward shading, and that was kind of computationally intensive because it would have to do the shading, or the calculations for shading for every single object in a scene. Sometimes you get redundant calculations. And this, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but it reduces the overall computational complexity of it and just allows for a better performance and allows you to incorporate, I guess, resources into other aspects. So all in all, in layman's terms, it results in a better graphical experience. They're bringing back the Destruction engine, of course, and they've really ramped up its power. Apparently it has the capacity to simulate, almost any scale building in true realism. I think that there was a demo with a rocket hitting the side of a hotel building, and it looked kind of like the scene from The Matrix, is how they described it, the helicopter hitting the side of the building, created kind of that rippling effect with the windows. So they've created that as well, and they're bringing it in. For the animations, they're borrowing from EA Sports games, from FIFA and games like that. They have something called the ANT, or ANT animation system, which is supposed to really do a good job of modeling real-life movements. For example, if someone's turning, his head and his gun's going to move before his body does, and his animations, going into cover and out of cover modeled correctly, and it also allowed them to streamline everything. So the single-player animations and the multiplayer animations are two completely different libraries. And for the sound, DICE actually went out and recorded the audio from a couple of Swedish military exercises, and they actually took a different approach from previous games. They're not going for a cinematic feel. They're actually going more the route one would take to develop a documentary. And the reason for that is they're going for accuracy. They really want it to represent what it sounds like in real life. And let me know if you guys watched that single-player trailer, if you noticed a difference in the audio. I felt like there was a big difference in the audio, not just in the Battlefield series, but compared to a lot of other games, and I personally enjoyed it. But let me know what you guys think about these styles of videos, where I kind of give updated information about what's known about the game. And it doesn't necessarily have to pertain to Battlefield 3. I mean, there's a lot of big hitters that are coming out in 2011, including Gears of War 3, the next Elder Scrolls, and of course Call of Duty. So, I mean, as new updates come out, big updates, I don't mind putting out videos that discuss them. But let me know what you guys think in the comments, and as always, take it easy.